Hey now, welcome back to the Deadology Podcast. From Pencil Hill Studio, New Paltz, New York, I'm your host, Howard Weiner. Today is August 9th, 2025. It's been 30 years since Jerry Garcia passed away. And I got to thinking, it's incredible how much the Grateful Dead have grown over those 30 years. By 1995, they were already incredibly popular, a major part of the American culture at that point. But without a doubt, in the last 30 years after Jerry's passing, more people have listened to the Grateful Dead by far than they did during the 30 years the Grateful Dead played from 65 to 95. Just an incredible testament to the Grateful Dead and especially the magic of Jerry Garcia. And today's episode, which is Season 3, Episode 15, will be a Days Between special featuring 5 inspirational Jerry Garcia masterpiece jams. So these particular instrumentals are going to be 5 shows I was at, and 5 incredible jams that have stayed with me since the day I witnessed them. And one other thing on the selection of these 5 particular instrumentals is I'm not going to repeat anything that I've done on the podcast so far. Like say 9/18/87 Madison Square Garden, that incredible Morning Dew. That could rank as one of the 5 incredible masterpiece jams that I saw. But since I've already discussed it on the podcast, I don't want to be redundant. I'm going to toss you guys some fresh meat, some stuff I haven't put on the podcast, played on the podcast, or talked about. And these are 5 unbelievable selections I have here for you. And it's all going to begin with a Madison Square Garden show from October 12th, 1983. And one time somebody asked me, what was the greatest instrumental that I ever saw? And I gave it some consideration, and my answer was October 12th, 83, the Slipknot. Well, actually, since it's an instrumental, the end of the Help on the Way from Jerry's last verse to the beginning of Franklin's Tower, the first verse of Franklin's Tower, the most amazing instrumental I ever seen. And we're going to hear that momentarily. I just want to set the stage for what it was like to be at Madison Square Garden, 1983, in that particular time period. New York City was nitty-gritty tough back then. You got the Westies and a different city than it was when Rudy Giuliani came in and took it over and kind of cleaned it up. But there was so much energy at these Madison Square Garden shows, and just a growing, for the Grateful Dead, just love, man. And so the night before, October 11th, 83, the Grateful Dead played St. Stephen. It was like a miraculous event. It caught me off guard. I mean, there were rumors. They had practiced it in Greensboro. But we've heard those rumors for years. But when they actually played it, it was shocking. You know, it was almost too much to even comprehend at the time. We were so excited. I was there with my friend Perry. We were practically tackling each other during the when they were playing St. Stephen. And it's a pretty cool version. But the next night, October 12th, I've never seen a place that had a buzz before the show started. And there was a buzz there because they played St. Stephen the night before. And, I mean, the Grateful Dead just came out and did their thing. Cold Rain and Snow to open, New Minglewood. The middle of the set was the most impressive part of the first set. They did a Cassidy and one of the greatest Cumberlands ever. I've refrained from calling it the greatest Cumberland. It might be the longest, but I have to give kudos to that great Europe 72 version, the one from Wembley Pool, London, April 4th, 72. I think you have to call that one the best. But this one in Madison Square Garden is probably like 2-3 minutes longer. Garcia just went nuts jamming out, and the Garden was just incredibly psyched for that night, man. And we start the second set. Now, I was in a very unusual place for the second set. I was behind the stage. I'm always out off to Jerry's, I guess, Jerry's right. Or, yeah, I think it's, yeah, Jerry looking out. I'm to Jerry's right. So I could see him turn his guitar. You know, usually that's the approximate area I was for every show. Somehow I was backstage at the start of set 2, about one level up, and they started Help on the Way. And I just looked out, and I'm like, I'm not going anywhere. This was the coolest view I just kind of stumbled into. Where I was, there wasn't a lot of people around. Everybody's out in front of the band. But I just had this amazing view because I could see what the Grateful Dead were seeing. It was, I was like, this is what these guys are looking at. It was, a place was packed, and every single person was into it. I mean, I didn't see any people spinning around, or everybody was facing the band, smiling, jumping, playing air guitar. I just looked out. I couldn't believe how I've never seen a crowd just being that into the music, you know, without any gimmickry going on, or and I was just kind of taken back, the power of playing to that crowd, and how that had to affect the Grateful Dead, just to look out and play for those people. Just a two-way thing, the crowd eating it up and the Grateful Dead feeding off their energy. And they just break into the Slipknot, and I mean, Garcia is totally locked in. The jam gets a little dark, but just nothing repetitive, on, and just loving it, man. When Garcia's going on, and he's hot and he's got these creative ideas. Just incredible how long this Slipknot is. And then they go into Franklin's Tower, and before they get to the first lyric, there's like 2-3 extra minutes of jamming there. In my opinion, this is without a doubt the best Slipknot Franklins. The Help on the Way, you have a lot better versions from 76 and 77 when they did a longer instrumental. But this is remarkable. If you get a chance to listen to the whole thing. But for right now, let's enjoy 12 minutes and about 40 seconds from the end of Help on the Way to the beginning of the first verse of Franklin's. That's a band locked in, going the extra mile for New York City. Just unbelievable. And that the Franklin's Tower that ensues, same effort, everything extra effort, every turn for a jam. Jerry and the band taking an extra mile. It's really an amazing version, and incredible that you could be that kind of intimate in conversation amongst musicians in front of Madison Square Garden, instead of feeling the pressure to move on to Franklin's, just being able to, knowing your audience, knowing the intelligence of your audience, that your audience is loving this. Just a special moment. I'll never forget that night at Madison Square Garden, and these solos and the solos that you guys love and go to all the time. I mean, these just live with us, man. From the time they happened, this is like 42, 43 years ago. Hundreds and hundreds of times, if not 1,000, I've listened to this, as I have with these other incredible instrumentals that I'm going to play for you here. And by the way, the musical interludes are going to be much longer tonight in honor of our hero, Mr. Jerry Garcia. So let's see what we got here. Next up, Alpine Valley, August 7th, 1982, Let It Grow. And this was like I went out to Alpine Valley, my first trip to the Midwest. My friend, contributor on the show, taper Doug Schmel, said to me, "Hey, what are you doing 2 weeks from now? The Grateful Dead are playing in the Midwest, this place called Alpine Valley. And do you want to go? Do you want to drive?" And I just said, "Yes, man." We didn't have to think about it, And I think Doug said, "The Grateful Dead. Imagine Jerry Garcia in the Midwest. He's going to be so hot." It's it was Tennyson Park, Nanuet, when he came up to me, and I was there, man. I did have to check my parents. I was basically driving my father's car, but it happened, and this Let It Grow is my favorite version ever. It definitely paid off driving out there. To start the show, they did a version of Music to open, into Sugary, back into Music, and those were like the two songs that I wanted to hear, and I couldn't believe I heard them to open the show. They weren't the greatest of versions, but just I was completely blown away by the Grateful Dead played exactly what I wanted to hear that day. After our 16-hour drive out to the Midwest, and the set's rolling along, they're pulling out all kinds of cool tunes, On the Road Again, great Althea in there, and it comes to this set ending, Let It Grow, and this is some of the most gripping music I think that's ever been played by the Grateful Dead, by any band. Just ridiculous. This is the very definition of synergy and a band just being on the flow, unconscious, because you can never chart it out. You can never think to play like this. This is how hot this version of Let It Grow is. Might even be hotter than what we just heard with that Slipknot Franklin's, just because the band is, everybody is 100%, and the speed is increasing throughout, and it's a very difficult song. There's a lot of like, when they hit that big jam and Let It Grow, there's basically 3 sections to it, and one of the cool things about listening to it, when they played it live, you could kind of hear them working it out. There might be someone might miss a beat, It's a difficult song to transition on. This is just unconscious, hotter and hotter and hotter all the way through. And the playing between Brent and Jerry, just incredible. This is impossibly perfect music. The Let It Grow from Alpine Valley, August 7th, 1982.
Creatures great and small, up and down, to run and fall, rise. on the pin. What a bright is the sky from which you came. Leave us on the earth that takes it in. Will I speak but stand inside the rain? Listen to the thunder shout. I am, I am, I am.
Man, that last chord, after all that raging music, I guess you have to call it music, it's like a band going into battle and fearlessly, just a brilliant playing. So after all that great jamming, the attention the Grateful Dead played to that last chord, and Garcia just strumming it beautifully, string by string. No stones left unturned on that, man. Unbelievable. And that type thing, that should be the Midwestern national anthem, the instrumental from Let It Grow, man. It just it speaks of harvest and letting things grow, man. Just a beautiful, but raging. I mean, Brent's playing in that blows me away every time. And just the way the band turns on a dime exactly where they should on a high difficulty song, Let It Grow. So, great stuff there. We're going to move on and get back to another amazing, inspirational, instrumental jam from the Grateful Dead. We're going to jump to the comeback year. The year after Jerry Garcia's coma, 1987. And man, emotions were running high when he came to the East Coast. I think the Philly shows. Was it Philly where he played first? I wasn't there, that's why I can't remember. It was either Philly or it could have been Hampton. For some reason, I think it was Philly. But anyway, I'm at Hartford. These are the next shows for the comeback tour. And I'm going there. I can't remember what tapes I heard prior. Just hoping that Jerry could be as good as he was. To hear a jam that would blow me away. So the first night in Hartford, incredibly emotional. We're happy to be there. Good song choice. Everything was great. but not completely blown away like Jerry's back. Even though the emotion just being at a show again was more than enough. And then the next night, first set's going along. It's really not good at all, and I'm like, geez, man, I hope Jerry's going to be Jerry again. Everybody was having the best time, but hey, man, I've always been. There's nothing I can do about it. I'm out there. I'm a critic. I'm Rolodexing every version I hear against everything I've heard in the past, and just hoping that we're going to get. I just wanted to hear the greatness from Jerry again, and as I'm thinking about this right now, I should have looked at the set list before I got to this, but they either played Tennessee Jet or Althea. I think it was Tennessee Jet, and the show was it seemed like after a very boring, lame, the band just doesn't have it going first set. I was walking around the hallways, blah, 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 a little bit down, and then I heard the beginning of Music Never Stopped. And for me, that's like the song to end the first set. I was excited, man. I ran back into the Civic Center, and what I heard next was just unbelievable. It went from being like a show and a half of like, come on, Jerry, just hoping that Jerry would be as good as he was. You want to hear a little bit of evidence of that. This was overwhelming, man. Just Jerry went nuts on this, and hotter and hotter. This is the best Music Never Stopped I ever saw. There was one from Philly later in the year that was also extremely hot. Very great Music Never Stopped. But this one from Hartford, and I won't have to put up my case for it anymore. I'm going to play it in a second, but Garcia just going on and on. And the beautiful thing about that, not only did I have a great Music Never Stopped that I could listen to time and time again through the years, but this gave me the sense that what the hell happened? Jerry might be better than he ever was before. 87 had that kind of magic, man, where you just felt that, you would hear something and you'd be like, that's the coolest thing I've ever heard. They're back. The possibilities are limitless for what the Grateful Dead are going to do. Unfortunately, it didn't turn out like that, but that was part of the magic in 1987. Even if the whole show wasn't hot, if you heard a moment like this, it would make everything all right. Everything would be just beautiful in the world. So let's check out this unbelievable Music Never Stopped, the end of the first set in Hartford, March 27th, 1980. Jerry Garcia in the fast lane, screaming, "I'm back, baby." Yeah, just incredible evening in Hartford, and to really hear something sensational from Jerry, something that you knew you'd get a tape of, and once again you would take it with you for the rest of your life and hear hundreds of times. I knew it instantly that night. That music was that good. Just knock your socks off. And Jerry's back, and what a relief. And a lot of good stuff to come in 87. And 1988, good year. I think they maybe took like a half step back from 87. So you kind of got, or at least I kind of got the idea that it wasn't going to they weren't going to be better than before. Things were kind of plateauing, and just lucky to get what you could get. So 1988 comes around, good spring tour. But once again, it was one of those things where there would be sensational versions, and some of the shows would just be mediocre. I didn't love a lot of this 88 tour in the spring, but there's just every night had just like a couple of versions to die for. I think the best set they played in that spring 88 tour was Brendan Byrne Arena Set 2. They did a Scarlet Fire, Samson, Terrapin, all incredibly hot. I forget the exact Run Home After Drums. There was Dear Mr. Fantasy in there. Just this night they carried it throughout the whole second set. But I'm going to focus in on this Fire. And I've heard this Fire jam like 500 times. It's not the best Fire. I saw Hartford 83, definitely a better Fire. And there's a lot longer ones. But this one is all style and pizzazz. Just Jerry Garcia, doing incredible things that you never heard before. So the first solo, they jump into it. The Burns psyched. They're shredding it, just on the money. And then Garcia, when I hear this, I imagine that he would step forward to the front of the stage, just like, here it is, like I'm a magician. So they already played like a great jam, but he steps forward, and this is going to be a little 3-tiered thing. He plays this incredible lick, quick lick, maybe a nice 10, 15-second run, pauses. I mean, everybody in the place is 1,000% focused on this. Plays the same lick over, just slightly quicker, maybe a different note, but just perfect. Same little slight pause. And then he does one just a little quicker, a little hotter, a couple more notes. But it's crazy just the way he's like a magician out there. Just pulling rabbits out of a hat. It's it's not even music, man. It's just like, how does he think of breaking up the music like that? So you got this big jam, and then you got these 3 little riffs in the middle of a smaller section. This is only the first instrumental. When they get to the second one, it's some of the best call and response you'll ever hear from Jerry and Brent, and the crowd is there just eating it up at the Brendan Byrne. So once again, like I said, not the best Fire of all time, but I keep going back to this. It's just a completely inspirational jam, and I think you guys are going to enjoy it. the magician, the maestro, Mr. Jerry Garcia, killing it on that Fire in the Mountain in the Brendan Byrne Arena, 3/31/88. Yeah, I've never heard a guitar player with the imagination of Jerry Garcia, man. Just so many influences, and just he seems to channel it into this new genre of music, man. Just incredible stuff. We're going to move ahead 1 year. Keep it in Jersey, though. Jersey State of Mind. Giant Stadium, July 10th, 1989. Another day and night of great memories. I'm there with my girlfriend. Thunderstorms. I'm not sure if the show got... Maybe between sets we had to go inside or something. Definitely remember some serious thunder and lightning that night. Played a pretty desirable first set, second set as far as the song list goes. But it really wasn't clicking all night until after drums, when a couple of Neville brothers and John Cipollina joined the Dead on stage, and the whole vibe of the night changed as they did like a great little 5-song ending. 5 songs including the encore. You got an Ico, All Along the Watchtower, Morning Dew, Sugar Magnolia, Knock on Heaven's Door. Just think about some of the greatest songs ever written. You got Dylan in there a couple times. Morning Dew, Sugar Mag, one of Dead's best songs. Ico, just an incredible little selection. And the band finally started to click. They had other people on the stage, and it was a great, rousing ending. And the thing that really sticks out for me is this Morning Dew, and the jam in the Morning Dew, and why it's so special to me. Besides, as great as you're going to hear it, as great as it sounds, this is the last great jam I heard from Garcia. I think I saw the Dead 4 times after this, and there was nothing that blew me away. I mean, it was decent shows, and they're playing songs that we love, but it just wasn't. I think I had bad luck down the stretch. I just didn't catch any great shows in my last 4. So this Morning Dew absolutely knocked me off my feet at that night. I couldn't believe how hot it was. It's not the longest Dew I heard, not the hottest, but just what Garcia does. How after playing this song for so many years, he finds a totally unique way to grab you and shake you up with it, man. It's just there's like an ascending run, a descending run, but he does it. It's almost comical, or just like this mathematical precision that nobody else could do it. And you listen to this. There's no other Morning Dew that has licks anything like this. It's the creativity, and I think this is very unusual in this Morning Dew. It's kind of like Jerry is way ahead of the band, not in a bad way, but I think the band is just like standing back, awed. Everybody on stage just kind of awed by the great guitar work from him on this. So just a very memorable moment. This one is definitely available on video. You can see it on YouTube. And another show, especially the ending, we're checking out. So I'm going to play this as the outro, man. Everybody, thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, because I've been enjoying listening to it as I'm talking up these cuts, and I can't wait to hear it again in the car tomorrow. Some just unbelievable work from Garcia. I'm your host, Howard Weiner. CatfishGarcia82@yahoo.com. Email, website, tangledupintunes.com. Thanks for listening, and everybody, enjoy this Morning Dew, and be careful if you're driving. Peace.